Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. I'm the Monk, and today we are in Crusader Kings 3. Now today's video is going to be all about our army. It's going to be about invasions and just everything that I can all the information I can get together about our military. I haven't done one of these guides before for Crusader Kings, but I'd imagine it's going to be on the lengthier side. Unfortunately, Crusader Kings is not a small game by any imagination. So first of all, I think we should probably start with the military. Good place to start anyway. So let's pop along to military and our army. Now the first unit really to talk about are the levies. Now if you have a little look-see, every unit in the game has attack damage, defense, and just how much attack or defense they have while they are retreating as well. So that's a thing to keep in mind. Now the bulk of all of your army is always going to be your levies, and levies are dependent upon your holdings. The more land you hold, the bigger your levies. However, it's important to kind of note that if you have a look, I've actually got 1,200 out of 5,200 possible soldiers from levies. This is because I tend to fight quite a lot, therefore it takes my kingdom quite a long time to gather my levies and for it to be its full force. If I was to have a bigger kingdom, I would have more levies, and if I was to fight, again, it's going to take a long time for those levies to actually be ready to raise. So a way to counter this, there's a few different perks that will 100% help you guys out. They're mostly in the martial tree, in the life skills. And then also having a good martial with a good martial stat will also help get those levies actually going for you. Next up, we have the knights. Now, the knights are incredibly important. They're basically your champions, your heroes, if you will. And really, the stat you guys want to be looking at is prowess. As you can see, this knight has 14 prowess, meaning he's okay in battle. He's no Superman, but he's definitely okay. Knights in general are very, very good. If we actually have a look at prowess, you'll see that just one prowess equals 100 damage. So 14 prowess equals the ability to deal out 1,400 damage. And they're all pretty tough as well. When it comes to knights, there's a few things to consider. Usually, the game automatically assigns them from your council. This is a mistake. If you get into war, it's very, very common for your knights to die. When they die, especially if it's council members, it's going to drive your kingdom absolutely crazy. So think about that. If you do end up coming across someone who is on your council, like for instance the good old Duke here, I could choose to forbid him to be a knight, meaning that he's not going to die on the battlefield. However, this player I actually don't want. He's my player heir. I'm currently have an assassination out on him, so to assist him not being a problem anymore, I could force him to be a knight as well, because being in battles, it can be very problematic. You know, there's a very high risk of you dying on the field. So again, be careful who you actually have as a knight and who you don't have as a knight. My son, for instance, possibly I would like to forbid them being a knight. Also, 12 isn't necessarily a good stat anyway. So let's move on to the creation of regiments. Now the first one we actually have here is the siege mechanics. This is the lowest form of siege mechanics we can have in a game, but they are incredibly important. And I highly recommend you guys actually have siege weapons. As soon as you start your playthrough, as soon as you have access to siege weapons, because I know certain starts don't have access to siege weapons, but they do a fantastic job of saving you a great deal of time and your men's lives. I could quite easily have 2 armies. One of them with siege weapons, one of them without siege weapons. And you'll see the army with siege weapons will be able to take out castles 3-1 on a good average. Sometimes you can take out a castle in 1 to 2 months if you have siege weapons. So I cannot overestimate or overstate enough. Use siege weapons. It's going to save you so much time, guys. Absolutely so much time. In fact, something I tend to do is when I normally go up against bigger, stronger opponents, I feel comfortable doing so because number one, I tend to run more siege weapons than them, especially early game, and two, I have a few perks that one, help with my siege weapons, or two, help with my army maneuverability. If you can outpace the other, the AI, and you can outsiege the AI, technically you can conquer a lot more land than they're able to. So having those siege weapons are just so important. Moving on to the next troop type, we have the standard light footmen. These guys are actually pretty cool. They will be probably the first ones you actually pick up, and they are unfortunately, or they are the best at bang for your buck. These guys will do more damage than most other units just because you are fighting a lot of levies, and these guys are basically upgraded levies. Next up, we have the bowmen. Bowmen are incredibly useful. Like I just said, for the most part, you're going to be going up against large quantities of levies, which, if you have a look, every single unit type has a typing. So the light footmen, for instance, are skirmishers. And the bowmen happen to counter the skirmishers. Therefore, if you have 2 regiments of bowmen, have that upgraded as much as you can, you're going to be doing some serious damage going up against all of those levies. Next up, we have got light horsemen. Light horsemen counter the archers. You don't see them too much. However, before going into battle, you can actually look at the commander, see what kind of army he's got, see what kind of mixture he's running against. And that way you know whether you're going up against horsemen or not. If you are going up a lot of horsemen, obviously the pikemen will counter the light cavalry and the cavalry. After that, you have armoured footmen. Armoured footmen are very good. They have got a lot of armour. They can deal a lot of damage. However, they cost a lot of money. If you can afford to have them in your army, definitely do so. But the thing about regiments is that it's going to cost you gold or it's going to cost you prestige depending on what type you are. I'm feudal at the moment, so therefore it costs me gold per month. That's raised and unraised. So that's when I'm not at war, and when I'm at war, it's costing me money. It does cost me a lot more money to be at war and actually use the troop, but just being, dormant, it's still going to cost me a lot of money. However, if I was tribal, for instance, it would be costing me prestige instead of gold. Now we move on to mercenaries. Now, at the beginning of the game, mercenaries are so important, like incredibly important, because sometimes you're not able to take over some land because you're outmatched. They really aren't that expensive. Like right now, I could get 769 troops right now for 127 gold. Now, I have them for 3 years. Once they're dead, they're dead. But I have them for 3 years. And as you can see, they consist of levies and footmen. You can actually go down all the way to the end. And you'll see right here, I've got 2,300 troops that I could hire right now for 600 quid. And it will tell you what you're going to be hiring. So here we have got a lot of light horsemen, a lot of armoured footmen. We got a lot of levies and a lot of pikemen. To be fair, it's a very good regiment. It only costs you £600. So there's no month-to-month cost. Once it's done, it's done. Like I said, they have actually got me out of quite a few different things. It's also worth noting that you may not have this huge listing depending on where you are in the world, depends on what kind of mercenaries you're actually able to hire. The next thing we have, or troop type unit that we actually have, is the Holy Order. This is unique depending on where you are in the world, depending on what religion you're playing. But the Holy Order is, in my opinion, absolutely awesome. It does require quite a few hoops. In this case, you have to be a kingdom or an empire. You have to have a barony or a city or a castle that you can actually give to somebody, as in this group. You're actually going to give them a castle to kind of live in. You have to be ordained, in this case by the Pope. He has to, like you. And you have to have a level of devotion. For me, that was actually quite difficult. I tend to play kind of against my faith quite a lot of the time. So it's quite difficult to kind of get that devotion level 3, unfortunately. But let's go ahead. We have picked where our castle is, or which castle that we're willing to donate. In this case, it's Basingstoke, which is actually just above my capital. And then we can found the Holy Order, and we have just founded the Knights Templar, which in my opinion is absolutely awesome. So if we have a little look-see at that, go along to the Holy Order. And as you can see, there are 1,200 troops there. Now, these troops will come and happily join you for free, absolutely for free, whenever you fight someone of a different faith. You do have to hire them if you fight someone of the same faith, however. But as you can see, if we was at war, we could hire them. And here, we actually get almost 1,000 levies, but we also get 300 Order Knights, and these guys are pretty tough as well. They're basically the armored footmen. I think they're a little bit tougher than the armored footmen, actually. Yeah, so they really are quite cool. You also get an extra couple of decisions with them too. Once you founded the Holy Order, you can go down to here in the decisions. You can borrow gold from them, and you can also say, "Nah, I'm done, mate," and kick them off. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's look at our perks really quickly. I think we've done all of the troop types. So let's look at perks. And it's going to be the martial skill, really, what I would recommend looking at. I think it's definitely worth putting in, say, 3 points at least. You would have to get this one for the Callous Bell, which is really useful anyway, because obviously when you're attacking, you need reasons to attack different people, whether it's faith related, whether you have a claim on it, whatever the reason, you're going to need a reason to attack. But the next one I would definitely get is this, Engineered for Destruction. This gives us siege weapon effectiveness of plus 40%. Again, meaning it's going to save us a huge amount of time when it comes to taking on those other castles, taking them out of the game, and so we can move on with our war and move on to the next one. The other one I really like is Organized March, because it's really simple. It basically gives us an extra 15% movement speed, meaning that we can outpace everyone around us, which I think is really, really useful. So I tell you what, how about we actually do a little war? I'm pretty sure we need to go to war with these troops right here anyway. So go to declare wars. And of course, in your quick hints, when you press the right trigger down, the right analog stick down, sorry, it will show you what kind of wars you actually have available to you if you didn't already know that. We're going to go, and it always does it pretty much. I think every single time I'm actually able to go to war, it will guarantee to be in here. The game does a very good job of keeping track of everything that you can actually do from this menu. And as you can see, we are going to go to war. We've got 3 allies, or we can call 3 allies. They've got 1. We definitely outnumber them. It's going to be a holy war, which is absolutely brilliant because I think these guys are Norse. We declare war, and what that actually means is we get an excuse to use our Holy Order, which is kind of cool. There we go, we can hire them for free, so they're there for life for us now. It was quite an investment. It did take a lot of effort to get them, but I think the extra 1,000 troops is just a really nice extra little touch, to be fair. And let's click on our rally point. Again, another little tip, just in case you didn't know, you can actually move your rally point to anywhere you want on the map. I don't think the tutorial covers that. I have covered that in another video, but you may not have seen that. So that can be really useful as well. That way, for instance, I could put the rally point up here, right next to our actual target. So let's call our troops. And then we will fast forward time, allow our troops to actually get to us. Now, it does take a little minute for our troops to kind of gather. Another cool thing to kind of note, again, I have covered this in another video, but I haven't covered it so far, is that you can split your units. So, for instance, you could split them in half, creating, you know, an equal half army. Or, do you remember that little trick earlier I told you about wanting to take care of an heir, get rid of them, you didn't want them? Well, you could split them off. You go to split off, find the smallest little troops you have, like these 22 levies, for instance. That gets accepted. We accept that. Go along to where it shows our troops. Go down to that troop that, or that units that we've just made, and then we can select our leader, which of course is this Duke. And then he's got a greater chance of dying because obviously we're sending him into battle with only 22 troops, which is, it's quite funny, to be fair. Let's send him up here on his hone. The other thing we can do just going into war is click on your hints again, and then you can call different allies that you have. So for instance, you might have an ally to call. This will cost you your prestige, however, in order to recruit them into war. Or of course, you can always call your members of your house to fight with you as well, because they're family members. Therefore, you know, that's what they do. The bigger your dynasty in this game, the better off you are. And there we go. We have got all of our allies coming into battle with us. We've raised our troops. And now let's go ahead and pop over here. Everyone's just accepting that they're going to come into battle with us. Hopefully that guy's going to die. We've also got a plot running against him as well. And now we're going to fight away, take, you know, with our siege weapons and take out the first castle. Now, to win a battle, you kind of need to win the battle score. Different things that you do in your battle will determine your score. For instance, if you manage to kill the leader, it's an instant victory. So if you can hunt down his army and take him out, capture him, kill him, either one, it's an instant win. 9 times out of 10, taking out their capital is also not an instant win, but it will ensure more points to your war score. And again, if they take out your capital, that's going to be a lot of points for them as well. This is their capital. It's represented by kind of like the flaming flag. So if you're ever wondering where the capital is of the AI that you're fighting, have a look at their area and it will end up being their flag that's kind of like on flames. The other thing is, though, if they have allies brought into the war as well, just make sure you know which ones you're actually fighting, because while you'll still score points for fighting the allies, it's actually the people that you're at war with, the main people you're at war with, either they attacked you or you attacked them, that you actually need to be focusing on. You'll score more war score that way. Let's have a little fast forward and see how quickly or slowly we can actually win this war. There we go. As we can see, we've got the lines across the land representing that we've actually taken control of that for now. And I think this actually might be his army. So let's go and have a look, see if we can have a little battle. There we go. Very quick battle, easy win. Obviously, we outnumbered those troops there. Really, this is a numbers game as well. So if you end up going up against an army with considerable bigger number, unless you are running very good troops and a lot of them, there's a good chance you're going to lose that, unfortunately. Like I said, this is a numbers game. The more you have, the better for you. But guys, I think that's it. I think I've covered absolutely everything. Obviously, you just chip away at the AI until eventually your war score reads 100 and you win the battle. We do actually have an active and growing Discord. We are trying to get in more community members there, so the link for that will be down in the description. And of course, if you've enjoyed this video, found it entertaining, or just want to see more Crusader Kings content, don't be afraid to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course comment your thoughts down below. If I've missed anything that perhaps you wanted to be covered or you had questions on, let me know down below and I'll do my very best to make sure that I answer all of your questions. But guys, I've been a monk and we've been a Critically Clueless. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video real soon. Until then, take it easy, and of course, happy gaming.